I recently finished watching the anime Berserk, and there are lots of things running in my head, so I decided maybe I can make a video out of this. So here I am. If you click on this video, it is fairly accurate to say that you're familiar with the anime. But if you're not, I'm gonna briefly extract the gist of the story. So Berserk is a story of a male lone sword mercenary named Guts. The world setting is medieval fantasy with curses, magic, demons, angels, fairies, etc. And so Guts met a leader of a mercenary army named Griffith. And first, a disclaimer, I haven't watched the Swordsman's arc. I think that's the arc where Guts is still a child. So this analysis would start at the Golden Age arc to the Conviction arc, but I only watched the anime. I haven't read the whole manga because I started reading it, but then I stopped because I don't know. I just stopped. So at the start of the Golden Age arc, Guts met a leader of a mercenary army named Griffith. Griffith recruited him, and so Guts joined, of course, with a fight. So, because Guts' character is independent, is mainly driven by freedom. So he didn't want to join Griffith, but then Griffith challenged him into a duel. So Griffith won, and that made Guts join the army. So they became close. And Griffith is a dreamer. He dreams of owning a kingdom one day. Long story short, a demon made an offer to him. He will regain power in the exchange of his comrades, and Griffith chose to offer his comrades. The comrades that Griffith sacrificed are branded, and this brand attracts demons and all lower beings in that world. But Guts persisted because he's really strong, and the rest of the story is basically Guts wanting revenge. Lots of things happen. If you haven't watched it yet, I highly recommend you do so. So first, I'm gonna define the word story. What is a story exactly? So story is an illusion. And little kids with little knowledge of the world and life can easily believe a story, like literally. But as we grow old, we gain muscle and more bones, and maybe a few brain cells, but we definitely gain knowledge and we develop a rational thinking, which is a tool for breaking any kind of delusion. And so I am old, and my threshold for a strong illusion got higher. I need a strong illusion from a story for my mind to quench itself at the art. But of course, I am aware that I'm watching a mere illusion and my rational mind is ready to be deluded in that specific story. But then the illusion will not affect as much as it should when there are inconsistencies with the plot and unrealistic dialogue. Sucks to be old, but we can't help it. And so Berserk almost had me completely. What I would consider to be quote unquote had me is when my rational mind doesn't have anything to say. But this isn't to say that I haven't enjoyed the show. If I would rate it, I would say Berserk is 9 out of 10. So what are those inconsistencies in Berserk? First, a disclaimer, this is not a rant, a complaint, a critique. A discussion is more fitting of this video because this is just a discussion of certain facts that I see in Berserk. So, what are the plot hole that I see? There's only one really that I can consider to be an extreme hole. The part where Guts leave Casca behind to find Griffith in the conviction arc. After being branded in the Golden Age arc, so if you don't know, being branded means demons would attack and kill her because the brand means they are an offer to the demons. And aside from the brand, Casca also regressed mentally into a child because of the extreme suffering that she goes through in the climax of the Golden Age arc. And despite that, Guts left her at her own with the little kids. There's a demon that appears to be protecting her. It's like taping together a broken mirror. It's obvious, but nice try. So, this inconsistency is an aspect of God's character. Well, it should have been logical if God's first tried to find ways to heal Casca, and then after she's healed or she's protected, then he would go after Griffith. But Yeah, anyways, that's just that. I just noticed that. And another thing that I don't particularly like is Casca's character design. If you don't know, Casca is the heroine. First, she was in love with Griffith, but eventually fall for Guts. And she is the captain of their army, but she has a very slim figure. I really cringe every time. Like, dude, there are lots of body types for women. Literally, the anime character design of a woman is only one type, the slim hourglass figure with big boobs. I mean, it's fine, it's just a story, whatever, I can overlook it. But then, her, the design of her character relative to her role in the story isn't really logical. And it's not my story, yeah, but this is just what I've noticed. Okay, so it's really a bummer for me. The logical figure of a woman captain in an army would be a buff and muscular lady. I'm gonna proceed with some character analysis. First up would be the main protagonist, Guts. From what I've gathered, he is a simple character, not in a stupid dumb way simple. What I mean by simple is he has simple desires. He isn't ambitious like Griffith. And so there's a scene where Griffith talks about his definition of a friend, and a friend is someone who is his equal that has a dream and will do anything to achieve his dreams. What I mean with do anything, even to the point of sacrificing morals just to achieve his dreams. And Guts internalized Griffith's beliefs and realizing he doesn't really have a dream like Griffith said a friend would, and so he decided to do some soul searching and find his own path. And unbeknownst to him, this was the start of Griffith losing the grip of himself. Gus doesn't really question existence or morality often. He isn't the typical hero archetype which tries to save everyone and preaches good morals and virtue, etc. He's almost like an anti hero. Guts kills if he is attacked, he kills if someone goes in his way. He doesn't bother quote unquote talking it out like most of the main character in anime. But this is to say that that's wrong. This just in comparison to Guts' character. I can also say that he is the epitome of masculinity, and I'm gonna try to expand the idea of masculinity of Guts. So, what do I mean by that? So, Guts is independent emotionally. He doesn't appear to need consoling. He isn't really emotionally attached to his comrades in an obsessed way, like when he contemplated leaving. He doesn't appear to be melancholic. He's much concerned about the idea of departure than the emotional part of it. This isn't to say that Guts is emotionless, actually, the contrary. He almost feels like he doesn't deserve the warmth and love from his comrades. Like he said that this is non verbatim, but being with them felt like being in a festival, and I feel like I overstayed. Of course, non verbatim. Guts is also persistent. He set out to do something and he will do it even if it means isolation. So Guts is a solitary man and he isn't bothered by it. Before he met Griffith and Casca, he was always solitary. So being a solitary is a real strength in a way that Guts can easily decide about doing what he wanted without fearing isolation. Because in real life, most people held back in doing something, or in this case, like pursuing a dream, because that can sometimes requires isolation. And so Guts doesn't hesitate in doing what he wants because he has no attachment and he has no fear of isolation. And so it's a real character value. So the next stop would be the heroine Casca. So Casca is also simple in my perspective. Her motivation is mainly Griffith at the start. Like she wants to be Griffith's sword, or in other words, Griffith's most trusted comrade. And of course, she wants to be his lover, but Griffith has his eyes on Guts only. Like, no kidding though. The kind of affection that no logical person would just say a friend. Like, he is obviously in love in a weird way. Like, I don't know what way, but in Griffith's way, kind of way. And it's gay. There's a scene when at the first start of the Golden Age arc where Griffith recruited Guts, Guts asked why Griffith avoided Guts' vital point, something like that. And Griffith said, because I want you, Guts. And Guts asked, are you into men? Something. And then Griffith just smiled, bro. I mean, what does his smile means? Come on. Yeah, anyways, I would really love to see a fan made story about Guts and Griffith being in love, like a normal love story. But anyways, that's just my BL fever talking. There's not much to say about Casca really, but I'm gonna comment about a woman being on the battlefield. It's impossibly absurd. Okay, imagine in that era of wars, when you're a woman and you got your monthly period visit, how can you manage a period cramp in a camp? There's no proper sanitation, and you're bleeding down there. You're having mood swings, and you smells like tons of garbage. And wars in the ancient times last for months to years. And realistically speaking, women should not be in the battlefields. I'm not against feminism or equality preaching. It's just facts. Period aside though, in terms of bone structure and muscle mass, men are built for combat and women are built for taking care of the infants, biologically speaking. But philosophically speaking, we can do whatever we want. I'm just pointing some facts. Yeah, so last character that I'm gonna analyze is the antagonist. I think Griffith is the most complicated character in the story, and so I really like his character. Not like in a I praise his character or something because he's done some evil, really evil stuff. I just like the way he's written. And so, first of all, it's a good trick to make the antagonist beautiful. The viewer can have mixed feelings just because of aesthetic. And yeah, as much as I like to deny that beauty is subjective, I think I'm gonna believe in a more objective definition of beauty, like the golden ratio proportion beauty. It's overall subjective, but we can measure it objectively, kind of thing. So, beauty as a real superpower, it really is a great tool for illusion and manipulation. So, yeah, beauty aside, Griffith is philosophical. Unlike Guts, who doesn't question existence itself, since he was a child, has always been questioning his existence and doesn't want a normal life. And so he wanted to rule a nation, and that was his dream since he was a child. And he's a visionary in modern terms, per se. And he will do anything to manifest that vision into reality. He is also a great leader amongst the many, but when it comes down to it, when the demon made an offer to grant him power in exchange for the lives of his comrades, he chose power, and that is why Guts is setting out to kill him at the rest of the story. At the time of the offer, though, I think if Griffith was normal, he wouldn't take the offer, but Griffith was physically disabled. He was tortured by the king for making love with a princess, and he made love with the princess because he was losing himself at the idea of Guts leaving his army. And he did some reckless things, so long story short, Guts rescued him, but he was already deteriorated into a mere worm. I mean, he can't walk, talk, he's very thin, his tendons were cut, he is deeply malnourished. What befell to Griffith was worse than I could ever imagine, and hence Griffith wasn't just merely at the worst state physically, his spirit was also warped and bent and broken into thousand pieces. Death would be a salvation for him. But a demon promised revenge, power, etc. It isn't to say that what he did was right. I was just pointing out that anyone can make a pact with the devil after everything he've been through. So I can't really hate him for it. It is just a matter of human weakness which is present to all of us. But that aside though, Griffith raping Kasika in front of Guts was detestable. It was his attempt to assert dominance, that he doesn't care anymore. And I would vouch that Griffith already lost his soul at the time. So Guts was dealing with the betrayal, with the fact that Griffith sacrificed them for himself, and also Griffith raping his girlfriend in front of him. If I was Guts, I would have exploded in the thousand pieces. My head would build up with so much energy, my lungs would explode because of my screaming, and I would just die in anger, in fucking rage. I mean, I can't take that fucking scene. If that were to happen to me, my own rage will kill me from the inside out. It was such a good scene, though. I mean, really, what is the worst thing that could ever happen to a man? That's the worst thing that could happen to a man. So it is understandable how Casca became traumatized. I mean, beyond understandable. Because it was the worst for her. So Griffith's dilemma is the old age morality question, quote unquote. Would you sacrifice your morals if it means getting what you desire? Some people is ready to sacrifice their morals in a scenario where you work hard and long to get what you want and there's a quicker way, but it would mean sacrificing your morals and virtues and even something much more valuable like your comrades' lives. An argument for this choice would be, what's the point of desiring it if one is not ready to sacrifice anything to have it? Well, this kind of person, I would say that they're a desire based person, not in a hedonistic way. But what I mean is that person's priority would be his or her desires over his or her morals or over anything really, like over friends, over family, over anything. But then Griffith was pushed into extreme circumstances and he was forced to abandon his morals for his desires. Realistically speaking, a scenario could happen when a person has an option to choose virtue or desire, and I think it is more common than we imagine it to be. And this dilemma is mostly prevalent in the world of power, like huge businesses, politics, and so, in the extreme parts of the world, I can also imagine extreme scenarios and philosophical battles. So, why watch Berserk? If you haven't already, obviously. If you like exploring the darkest parts of a human being, greed, lust, power, control, arbitrary, extreme suffering, the story exposes human beings' weakness, vanities. It also shows a human being's capacity to adapt, to fight, to love despite being surrounded by hell itself. And in the end, despite extreme arbitrary suffering under extreme conditions, people still fight. We still fight, even without clinging to hope. We fight because we are alive. We fight not for hope or for the promise of light at the other side. We fight because we're still breathing. And I think for me, that is the real strength. So, yeah, that's that. I hope you get something out of this video, and I hope I convince you in watching Berserk if you haven't already. And overall, this is just my perspective on it, just my opinion. So don't take it out on me if I'm against your views of the Berserk anime. Just tell me about it and we can discuss about it. Because it's really a good show. It's really, really a good show. But yeah, that's all. And also, I am creating a webcomic. Also, the genre is medieval fantasy, like Berserk, and also with curses, stuff like that. But the people there can control the elements, the water, the fire. There's a large scale mass manipulation going on, and lots of other things. And if you're interested, check out the link on the comment section. And if you're watching this on TikTok, you can just search the title Land of the Gods on Webtoon or on Tapas or on Okidai. And yeah, see you there. Leave a comment down below. Also, I'm revamping it because the art of the first chapters isn't really that good, so I'm revamping it. And also, if you like this kind of content, you can subscribe because I create videos like this as much as possible weekly. So yeah, that's that. See you when I see you. Bye.